first and foremost, it is always the right time to expose the truth to the American people about the deep state tactics that have been used time and time again, fundamentally to undermine the foundational principles of our republic, and in so many cases to undermine the decisions that the American people make when they cast their votes in our elections to decide who they want to lead our country. And so the documents that we released really pointed to the fact that the 2019 impeachment occurred because there were members of the intelligence community working directly with House Democrats, specifically Adam Schiff, who's on the House Intelligence Committee at the time, concocting this narrative, weaponizing the whistleblower process, lying and abusing their power, all to create this manufactured basis that Nancy Pelosi then used to drive this impeachment against Donald Trump in 2019. I'll hit the high points on these documents. There are details and hundreds of pages of transcripts that we released in conjunction with House Intel Chairman Rick Crawford. But the bottom line is this. Number one, the whistleblower, so-called whistleblower who came forward, presented no evidence and no firsthand knowledge. This is a person who had heard about a conversation that President Trump had with Zelensky, then went straight to Adam Schiff on the House Intelligence Committee. And this is where they came up with this false narrative. And this so-called whistleblower then went and filed a complaint with the intelligence community Inspector General. The other witness, so-called witness to this, is somebody who also had zero firsthand knowledge and presented zero evidence, someone who was also a co-author of the 2017 Russia hoax intelligence community assessment that President Obama had ordered be created in conjunction with John Brennan and James Clapper at the time. Again, no firsthand knowledge or evidence, and someone who said that even after reading the transcript, he didn't really see the issue there until the whistleblower had explained it to him. And lastly, the Inspector General himself, and this is really such a violation of public trust and the responsibility that we expect all of our inspectors generals to have, in that he didn't conduct a full investigation. He didn't even ask to see the transcript of the phone call between President Trump and Zelensky, and he admitted to Congress that he did not have any evidence that he was relying on. He had made a criminal referral to the Department of Justice based on this so-called whistleblower's complaint. Department of Justice came back and said there's nothing here. This Inspector General then went to Congress anyway and presented it to them. All of this coming down to the bottom line of which this was a partisan political attempt, once again, to undermine the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump as President of the United States.
This one's for the Nothing Ever Happens crowd. What up? Welcome to the show today, Thursday, April 16th, 2026. We are live, and we will be witnessing live deep state arrests. And we damn well better. That's why we're doing the show today, as the Director of National Intelligence has sent criminal referrals, finally, for the corrupt CIA whistleblower who staged a coup against Donald Trump. We're going to break it all down on the show today. Yes, the CIA tried to impeach and to remove the duly elected president. We're going to show how the entire rat's nest, the rat trap that they set for Trump, talk about the illegalities of all of this and why the DOJ must prosecute. I've been speaking with the DOJ this morning, and I can just tell you that we're going to see real action on this. This is something that's been done right. Doing it right does take a second, a little too long for me. I'm a very impatient man, but it's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Also, some very dark news this morning. The Democrat lieutenant governor of Virginia, Justin Fairfax, a guy who people thought was potentially going to be a presidential candidate, seeking higher office. He was pretty famous, killed himself and his wife last night. Like murder-suicide. There's a lot of bad stuff going on underneath the surface. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to pray for people. And that there is, some real darkness in our political environment. And you have got to be careful who your heroes are. John Solomon, a hero of this show, who's broken this story on the deep state corruption, joins the program live today in moments. Brandon Herrera, who I think should be seated in Congress right now, frankly, given the fact that Tony Gonzalez just dropped out. Anyway, he's going to join the show. We'll see what he has to say about that. Anthony Rubin also on the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Take a bite out of crime with masa chips. Boo. Do we have booze? Can you please boo me for that? All right. You know what? It is. Thank you. Well, just boo me. Let's do it. Okay. Right. I've been wanting to say that for a long time. Anyway, can you tell I'm a child of the 90s? What was the dog's name? It's like some type of like crime-fighting, drug-sniffing dog. McGruff. Yeah, McGruff. Well, he'd love these. Masa chips are incredible for you. They're good for you. They're made out of 3 ingredients. They're totally maha. And endorsed by Gruff McGruff. I love masa chips. They're available at the Johnson dinner table if you're ever invited over for dinner. If you want to pick up a bag at Sprouts Market, they're there too. You can give masa a try by going to masachips.com/Benny. Use code Benny for 25% off your first order. Click the link in the video description. Use the QR code right here. All right. Let's get snacking this morning. It's amazing. I want to put up let's do our history. Do we have the white pill, Klein? Do we have the white pill stinger? Dude, I asked for that yesterday. Dude! All right, Jerry, your job is to make the white pill stinger this morning, okay? We're going to start off every single show with the historic white pill. It's enough, there's enough, yeah, I did actually. There's enough good news out there, and we hate the doomerism and nihilism. And so while we're not going to attack anybody, and we're not going to make anything personal, we are going to talk about some of the successes of our cultural movement, just so that people see that work is being done. Here's something that I found this morning that gave me a little pep in my step. New faces in the pews. Young Republican men and women are returning to church. Although women, gotta get a little work here, but look at this. This is a 25-year chart from Gallup, an incredibly dependable poller on these cultural issues. You can see here, Republican men absolutely skyrocketing in their return to church. Whoa. Republican women also doing great. I think women women as a total group is being dragged down by left-wing women and left-wing men. Left-wing women and men remain godless. Just a reminder that about 50% of left-wingers believe that there is a God at all. And doesn't that sort of undercut and demonstrate their entire worldview? Everything from the mutilation of children to the viewing of the federal government as their God, as deities, right? In the veneration, we venerate no one but God and Christ on this program. Every man is simply a fallible man who's a sinner and needs redemption, just like you and me. So we are a nation of men, and there is a God, and you are not God. And this is something that Republicans understand. This also ties into our white pill data from yesterday. Klein, are we getting a white pill stinger for tomorrow? Okay. Maybe we can get it by the show. Jerry, ALX, tell Jerry to make it by the end of the show. I want to see like a white pill and like you open it up and like the whole, I don't know, the country, I don't know, something like that into the heavens. I'm not sure. I know we used to do segments. We used to do like stinger segments. Let's do more of that. All right. We used to have cringe alerts and things like that. And then build a little more into the structure of the show. Anyway, I'm going to like yap all the way up until John Solomon. I just wanted to give you some of that information. The reason why this is important is that religiosity and the understanding of God in your life points you in the direction of where God wants you to go. And where does God want you to go? Well, he spells it out in the first words of the Bible, the first book of Genesis. He tells Adam his first command: go forward, be fruitful, multiply, tend to my garden. He wants us to get married, start families, have children, to tend to what he has given to us. That is something that is a practice solely being undertaken by conservatives. And while ideology is not a one-to-one imprint, the political affiliation of your parents is a very high coefficient for how you are going to view the world. Obviously, the more that we homeschool, the more that we take our children out of these rotted systems that are designed to manipulate them and poison their brains, the better we're going to get. By the year 2100, according to data, based on the statistics of who is having children, which ideologies are having children in this country, which is only Republican and conservative ideologies, 80% of the country will be the descendants of the conservatives of today, you and me. And my wife and I have 4 kids. We can do better. We can do better. Keep going, ladies and gentlemen. But this is how we win. This is how we win. And then here's also how we win. The federal government, reducing the stranglehold and the death grip of the federal government on our nation. Look at this. Never in your lifetime or mine have you seen data like this before. The Trump administration has done something that, again, no administration in your lifetime or mine has. Nearly 300,000 fewer federal workers in 1 year alone. More leaving than joining. Promises made, promises kept. Look at that. Look at those numbers. HUD, education. Whew. Man, education department getting completely gutted. HHS, Treasury, good. Rip it asunder. So, I mean, yeah, what do we say? What do we say in Wolf of Wall Street, right? Got to pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. But you should be thankful. This is never, not George Bush, not Ronald Reagan. Never have you seen numbers like this. In 1 year, 300,000 departures from the federal government. Good. Yes. Keep it going. This is how we win. Some of the departures could come from arrests. Here's the transcript. I'm going to show you the transcript, because this is where it all hinges upon. The transcript of the phone call between President Trump and Voldemort Zelensky on September 24th, 2019. You can see it here. No shame in it. And like nothing to hide. Go read it for yourself. It's been public for years. This transcript, where Donald Trump literally just has a very Trumpian conversation with Voldemort Zelensky, was the subject of President Trump's first impeachment. It took months. They brought the impeachment to the Senate. Do you remember they did their little walking of the impeachment? Hey, Alex, can you get me that? Can you get me the sacred walk of the impeachment? Yeah, some monastic chants. Some monastic chants as Adam Schiff solemnly carries the impeachment articles to the Senate. It was so cringe. It was so embarrassing. Anyway, the point is that they used this transcript right here. Here's all the evidence right before you. Scroll through. All the evidence right before you of how they impeached Trump. This is it. This is all of it. What ends up happening here is that Donald Trump says, that scumbag Joe Biden is a real dirtbag. And he was robbing your country blind with him and his dirtbag family. And you should totally investigate that. And this is what Trump said. Okay, I think it's right here, at the top of page 4. At the top of page 4, he says, yeah, good. I hear you, a prosecutor is very good. He'll shut down something that's really unfair. A lot of people are talking about that and the way that they shut down your good prosecutor, talking about the Bidens. Very bad people involved. Giuliani, highly respected mayor of New York, friend of our show. Rudy very much knows what's happening and is a very capable guy. If you could speak with him, that'd be great. The former ambassador from the United States, a woman, bad news. and he was dealing with the Ukraine. We're bad news. I want you to know the other thing. There's a lot of talk about Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Of course, this is before anybody knew anything about Hunter Biden. This is before the laptop scandal and everything like that. That Biden stopped the prosecutor. A lot of people are going to find out about that. Whatever you can do with that, and the attorney general, that'd be great. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you can look into that, that sounds horrible to me. We have the clip. We have Joe Biden. I held up the $1 billion, and then he got fired. Not sure if we have it loaded, but if we could. This is something that got Trump impeached. So why did I get Trump impeached? Why are we even able to read this? Because you can't read all of the classified calls with any world leader and any president. In fact, you never get to read these calls. Why is this all declassified? It's been declassified in the order of Donald Trump because he didn't do anything wrong. He said the Bidens behaved criminally in Ukraine. They did. Joe Biden did use all of his, it's on tape. We have the tapes of Joe Biden using his office in order to get the prosecutor that was looking into him and his family fired. We have the tapes. We have been talking about this. Some of his last phone calls that he made before he left the office of the vice president was begging for this prosecutor to get fired, trying to get this guy, Victor Shokin, fired because he was going to expose the Biden family corruption, which many people say is in the millions. I think it's more than that. What was being funneled to Biden, because what Joe Biden was asking for was the entire bank system to be shut down so that no one could ever trace their transactions. We have it on tape. We've played it many times on the show. Donald Trump has every right to ask to look into this because it was totally criminal. They were using Ukraine, the deep state was using Ukraine as their piggy bank, and Joe Biden, piggy, caught with his pig foot in the jar. This is something that Donald Trump righteously asked for. There's nothing wrong with it. The reason why you're able to read it today was because they impeached him for it. Why they impeach him for it? Because whenever the president's on a phone call, there are always the listeners. Donald Trump, famously said, "I'll tell you about it when there's not 15 people listening to the phone call." Right? Talking about the JFK assassination. This is something that often happens. The president has little minders, depending on the call itself. Oh, that's hilarious. That's the impeachment. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. It's so cringe. It's so funny. Here we go. This is the solemn impeachment. Oh. Do we have monastic music? You remember this? The funeral procession. All over a hoax. President has these little guys on the phone call. He still does to this day. The president, when he picks up the phone, it's never actually private. Depending on the nature of the call, there's somebody from the Pentagon, there's somebody from the deep state, there's somebody from the CIA, there's somebody from the NSA. It's not like it's secret. The president knows this is going on. But they watch these things in order to brief the president and to be able to inform the president afterwards about what's going on and so on and so forth. It's just how it works. I feel like it sounds like hell on earth. Could you imagine 15 different people listening in on every phone call you have? But that is just the way that it is. One of those guys was named Eric Ciaramella. This is somebody who worked in left-wing politics, worked in Democrat politics, had connections to Democrats in the House, was a left-wing activist. He was a dirty CIA plant. He was listening in on this phone call, and he probably knew what they were going to do when they were going to install Joe Biden as the candidate, and he heard that Donald Trump was going after Joe Biden. Now, again, check the date. Joe Biden had not announced that he's running for president. It's September 24, 2019. This is not the heat of the presidential election cycle. There was no real robust presidential election cycle going on right now. So it wasn't like Donald Trump was neck and neck with Joe Biden and he's like, take this guy out. That's what Democrats did to Trump. They did this to Trump while he was running for president. That's the playbook they ran on Trump. So this scumbag leaked this information and worked and colluded with Democrats in the House in order to do the wrap-up smear in the media. The wrap-up smear is that they claim, this happens to me once a day, they claim all these salacious allegations and lies. They did this with the Epstein files and Trump, right? They claim all this stuff in the press. They have the press merchandise it and write it up. They smear you with it, and none of it's ever true. They never thought that Trump would just declassify the damn phone call, which is what he did. And it proved that there was really nothing there. In fact, it proved that there was a lot there if you looked at the Bidens, and they should have. But instead, it was Trump that got impeached for the Biden's crimes in Ukraine. And he got impeached because of a dirtbag inspector general who should have stopped this kind of stuff, right? And he's now being referred for criminal charges. And the whistleblower is being referred for criminal charges. Because you're not allowed to just you're not allowed to snoop in on the president's call and then work with, in tandem and in total concert, Democrats in order to impeach a president you don't like. That's a coup. They use their awesome spying powers and deep state powers inside of the CIA in order to shackle Trump and impeach him. And that is what happened. And Tulsi Gabbard is now out throwing haymakers on this and potentially sending the people that did this to prison. Now, joining us right now is a man who not only broke this story, but has been sort of the beating heart, the epicenter of this reporting on the Trump takedown of the deep state in its totality. I very much look forward to a vibe check and a pulse check with the great John Solomon, founder of Just the News, who joins us live right now. John, welcome back to the show.
Good to be with you.
Bombshell stuff, man. So we've done everything that we can to sort of set the chess table up for you. How are the pieces moving today?
Well, first, you nailed it. You have it exactly the way it happened. And if we had known all this back in 2019, I doubt there would have been a successful impeachment vote in the House, even with Democrats in control. Why? Because the single most important thing that Tulsi uncovered is that the intelligence community, Inspector General, before he referred this to Congress, before he put the Adam Schiff slam machine into motion, knew that this complainant, I'm not even going to call him a whistleblower because it doesn't look like he met the standard for a whistleblower, he had misled the investigators. He actually provided false information on his intake form. He said, I didn't talk to Congress or anyone except my bosses when before I came to the Intelligence Committee. That wasn't true. He had already been working with Adam Schiff's staff. That's a material omission. It is a potential prosecutable offense. It's part of the reason why the criminal referral is there. If you find out that the man making an accusation has no firsthand knowledge, it's all second, third hearsay, has significant political biases. He worked for Joe Biden. He worked on the Ukraine prosecutorial issue that President Trump wanted investigated, i.e., he may be covering his own tracks, and he had a dislike for Republicans that he was working for in the White House. In fact, he so disliked Devin Nunes, he asked the Inspector General, please don't give my complaint to Devin Nunes, who at the time was the top Republican on House Intel, should absolutely be getting a copy of this because it's a gang, what they call a gang of 8 intelligence disclosure. This guy wanted to keep it from the one guy who had unraveled Russia collusion before Ukraine. So those are biases. They go to the credibility issue of this. So he's misled them. He's got biases, and he's only a hearsay witness, which doesn't meet the threshold for whistleblower complaining. If all of that had been made public so that the president and his lawyers could have used this during impeachment, I doubt that this thing would have got out of the House vote. So that's why today you have the criminal referral, and you also have President Trump's lawyers, including the great Alan Dershowitz, a former Harvard Law professor or Harvard Law professor emeritus. He is saying that they have a motion they're preparing to go to the Chief Justice of the United States. That was the trial judge. Remember, in an impeachment, the Chief Justice becomes the judge for the trial, and ask them to vacate or expunge the impeachment finding from the House. Never happened in the history of our country. It's historical. We don't know if it succeed, but it tells you how powerful this evidence is that great lawyers with great reputations are thinking this could potentially reverse something that's on the historical record of Congress.
So tell me about what could potentially happen to these deep state agents, because this was a coup by the CIA, right? Is this the correct way to frame this? This was a coup. They were using their awesome spying powers and listening in powers. And I think that it would kind of shock most people to know that the president, and he's fully aware of this, of course, that there's like 15 different people on every single phone call that the president makes, right? Like it could be the Pentagon, NSA, CIA, various agencies, depending on who he's calling and what he's calling about, people listen in, right? This is normal.
Yeah, it is. And what's remarkable is that the complainant, the alleged whistleblower, wasn't one of those listening in. All he had was hearsay about what happened, which as the Inspector General starts to look at, they realize he's not quite right. In fact, there's a moment where one of the intelligence officials who's helping the whistleblower make this complaint comes in and he's vouching for, hey, he's a good guy, you should trust him. But I got to tell you, I wouldn't connect the same dots he did. In other words, I don't think what he's told you is accurate. I wouldn't put my name and make that accusation. Those are things that if they had been disclosed in real time would have put a hole in this impeachment right away. So what can happen? There could be a prosecution. We'll see what happens. There is a statute of limitation for some of the alleged crimes here. Now, it does start or it can be rebooted. The clock on statute of limitations can be rebooted if evidence was withheld. So it's only when the prosecutors could reasonably discover this, which may be this week because of the declassification that I got done with. I want to point out, I pursued these records for 6 years. 6 years. 8 months in this most recent effort with Tulsi Gabbard before we were able to get them declassified. The intelligence community fought hard to keep this a secret because they know this is the ultimate reveal that what they did was inaccurate, biased, unfair, and you got them dead red with these documents. I want everyone to view this in light of what we think we're now seeing. There was a wash, rinse, repeat cycle in the intelligence and law enforcement community, the deep state that hated Donald Trump. That's the term he likes to use. I think we can apply it to this. It begins when Hillary Clinton realizes she's got a Russia collusion problem. Peter Schweizer's book comes out, reveals that the Clintons were making lots of money off of the Russia policy. She does a poll, finds out that that's even a worse liability for her than the email scandal or the Whitewater scandal, or go back to the original China money scandal that was a Clinton scandal. And so she's got to neutralize that. They create the Steele dossier. They hang a fake Russian shingle on Donald Trump's campaign house. Donald Trump just gets cleared in the spring of 2019 when I break the Hunter Biden stories, that Joe Biden, the videotape, firing the prosecutor, you don't get your $1 billion unless you fire the guy, son of a bee. They do it. Of course they did it. You extorted them. As soon as that starts to gain traction, the New York Times and ABC News are confirming my reporting, this whistleblower complaint comes in. And the exact same thing. Democrats have the Ukraine problem, but they're going to try to make it look like Donald Trump has the Ukraine problem, just like Hillary had the Russia problem, but they wanted to make Donald Trump look like he had the Russia problem. That happens. We now know the details of this thanks to Tulsi Gabbard. Then in 21, the Biden White House discovers that Joe had all those classified documents by his Corvette in his insecure University of Pennsylvania office in Washington, D.C. So they've got to hang a new shingle on Donald Trump's house. That's called the classified documents Mar-a-Lago raid. Same thing. Democrat has a problem. The deep state weaponizes it and turns it around to make it look like Donald Trump has the problem. And then in 2023, when it becomes obvious from the Easter Bunny incident and the many awkward moments that Joe Biden is beginning to lose his marbles, they need to hang something on Donald Trump one more time because he's still in the arena. He's still standing. They can't knock this guy out. And they create the Arctic Frost investigation. 3 years after January 6th, they try to criminalize January 6th. And what they try to criminalize it on is something that was twice before done in American history without criminal penalty. John Kennedy in 1960, Sam Tilden in 1876, they both submitted alternate electors to dispute an election result in 1876 and 1960. They didn't get prosecuted because the courts at that time realized that this was a reasonable grievance that someone could bring to their government. But not in Donald Trump's throat. He gets the shingle hung on him. Again, the Jack Smith shingle, the January 6th prosecution. It's a wash, rinse, repeat cycle of intelligence abuses and law enforcement abuses trying to meddle in our election system, trying to stop the American people from picking the guy they wanted to be president.
John, I'm so glad that you brought this up because the people who are guilty here, just like in the Epstein saga, the people who are guilty are Democrats. And what President Trump is asking for, and we just read through the transcript, and it's available because Trump declassified it, I don't think that they were planning on that. I think they were planning on running with a wrap-up smear, smear him with these allegations and say he was doing these things that he wasn't doing. But you can read right here, it's on the top of page 4, where he's just like, hey, listen, like Joe Biden behaved like a real scumbag in your country. And you should totally investigate that because I think what he did was criminal, and his dirtbag son also, like pretty criminal. That's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt to be correct. We have the tapes, we have the transcripts, we have the actual documents. We know that what Joe Biden was running there was a criminal money, cash for power, access grab through his son. So Donald Trump is completely and totally vindicated over this. How could anybody have listened to this and thought thought any other way except for if you were trying to manipulate an impeachment out of it, or if you yourself are criminally implicated.
Well, one of the things that we're beginning to see, Benny, is that this runs like a PSYOPs operation. The DIA and the CIA have these tools that they use to destabilize our enemies, to create ground games that would, if we don't like a leader, we can create disturbances on their soil. That playbook, those tools are turned around in America in 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. They use psychological operations to convince all of us that Donald Trump's a Russian spy. How silly was that now when you look back at it? That it really wasn't Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's grift that was a problem. It was Donald Trump asking for it to be investigated that was a problem. That it really wasn't Joe Biden's holding on to classified documents that he had no legal right to hold on to. It was Donald Trump who had the right to have classified documents. He's the problem. And then, though we let John Kennedy and Sam Tilden off the hook, we're going to prosecute Donald Trump for submitting electors to contest an election. The way they did that was through very carefully worded playbooks. And you look at the way the whistleblower's complaint is worded. It's written by a very savvy lawyer and maybe an intelligence operative who makes everything look true without actually saying it's true. It sounds like the whistleblower knew what the president said. He didn't, but he made it sound like it. He knew he had talked to Adam Schiff before he went to the Intelligence Committee, breaking the chain of command. He doesn't disclose that. It is very careful. It's just like the letter that told us don't believe the laptop. It's just like this Christopher Steele dossier, which was garbage, but it sounded really good. BuzzFeed fell for it. You keep looking at that cycle. Psychological operations were used. These people are trained in how to change sentiments, and they use those tools that we're supposed to use on our foreign enemies, and they turned them on the American people to get Donald Trump. That's what the ultimate story history will write on this chapter of our time.
Very quick follow-ups here. I hope you don't mind, John.
No.
Okay, so what's going on with the CIA now with John Ratcliffe? You know, I saw this guy at a White House Christmas party. I don't know him very well, but he seemed nice enough, right? Yeah. And he says, "Don't take a photo of me with me. It'll be the end of your career, right?" And I was like, "You're good at, you're at least good at this part of your job." But I don't know him that well, but he's out talking about Ghost Murmur, right, with Donald Trump. He's out on stage with Donald Trump. Has the CIA been brought to heel? What should happen with the CIA in order to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Is there any safeguards to make sure that this doesn't happen next year to Donald Trump?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I want to start with something that Ronald Reagan and his team used to say in the 1980s. People are policy. So if you want to keep this old policy of corrupting the system, you keep the old people. If you want to end it, you get rid of the people, because it was the people that brought this sick mentality in. For years, the CIA and FBI didn't do this to the country. They then suddenly did it. The FBI has cleaned house pretty good. ODNI has cleaned house pretty good. The CIA still has some house cleaning to do. The Justice Department still has some house cleaning to do that didn't happen under Pam Bondi. I think it'll happen under Todd Blanche in the next few months. And the National Security Division is a place that we all need to look at, because a lot of these schemes were concocted in that Department of the Justice. That said, the CIA is beginning to repudiate and punish and change its culture in ways we couldn't have imagined a year or two ago. There are 19 analytical reports that were issued during the Obama-Biden years that have been repealed publicly. 19 of them. That's never happened in the history of the CIA. That is an embarrassment to every officer who worked on a report. And I'll give you just one report that John Ratcliffe recently repealed. This was a shot heard around the intelligence world. People are shocked that this happened. It was such a mortal embarrassment. They actually wrote an analysis that said mothers who are wanting to be child bearer moms are potentially domestic terrorist threats. The CIA wrote that analysis. I put it out for everybody to see a couple months ago. It's insane. That's how insane the CIA became. We're rooting those people out. We're repudiating their work. We're retracting their work. And I think that's the beginning process. I do think the CIA is a battleship that turns a little slower, but the CIA's role in helping us rescue the pilot, the CIA's role in destabilizing Venezuela, shows that they're going back to the original game they were set to, which is take care of our foreign enemies and leave Americans alone. I think John Ratcliffe has realigned the mission. I think there's some more bodies that have to change hands and some more mentalities that have to be changed, but I do think it's on a good course. It's a little behind the FBI, a little ahead of maybe the Justice Department, but I think when we're all done, all four of the enemies of the state that created this attack on Donald Trump, they will all be reformed before the end of the 26th election.
John, I've never regretted asking you this question, and every time you're on my show, you're gonna get it. So here we go. What's coming next, brother? You know, you just you got like you know, John's just like the, you know, like the whisperer, right? Like the Indian Trail whisperer, like out in front of the scouting party. He can just like sense it in the breeze. And he's always right. He's probably the most right man in all of Washington, D.C., so I never regret asking. Go for it, John.
Yeah. I do think that the grand jury in Florida is about to make a decision on indicting on John Brennan. I think the fact that they asked Congress to send official transcripts in the last couple of weeks, that's almost never happens. A grand jury says, Congress, we want your official transcripts, not the ones that are in the congressional record. We want you to transmit something that you say, this is exactly what John Brennan told us. That is not a good sign for John Brennan and his lawyers. I think that decision will be made before the end of this month, and we'll know whether John Brennan will be indicted. There's significant activity surrounding James Comey, not on the old indictment that fell apart in Virginia a couple months ago, but on some new materials that come from the NSA. And I think that that's important. So we're going to keep an eye on that. These new referrals that are coming in are there. There is an investigation of the FBI agents who went after Kash Patel and Susie Wiles' phone records. That is reaching critical mass. And then I think we're going to call, I'm going to give a code name. I know the FBI likes code names, so I'm going to make one up today. I think the President of the United States in the next couple of weeks will announce an operation. I would call the code name Hypersonic Clarity. We're going to get a level of transparency in a release and declassification of documents unparalleled in American history. The President's setting up something that I think will be unbelievable. There will be a speed of lightning, a speed of sound to release of documents. And those documents will help this prosecutorial team in Miami that's doing this hard work to not have to do secret proceedings and secret classified proceedings, because the documents will be unclassified. The public will have transparency, the prosecutors will have. That will make it easier, I think, for the prosecutors to find the bad guys and sort the good guys from the bad guys out without having to have months and years of secret proceedings, what are called Secrecy Act hearings, which slow everything down. They're going to ungum the trail, and things are going to move quickly. I do think there will be some accountability. There'll never be enough for what we went through the last 12 years. We were deprived of a fair election because of this meddling in these PSYOP operations. We've been kept from information about vulnerabilities in our election system, which I'm going to have some good stories on that next week. But transparency can speed the prosecutorial accountability project. It's something that the deep state did well to keep Bill Barr from achieving before 2020. I don't think this Justice Department is going to fall for that. I think there'll be a speed of disclosure and a speed of prosecution that we didn't see in past years. The grand conspiracy case will be the ultimate thing. Can they make that? To get a grand conspiracy, Benny, you're going to have to do what prosecutors do when they take down a mob boss, right? Remember, they had to flip Sammy the Bull to get the Gambino family. They're going to have to take a capo in this intelligence law enforcement machinery and flip them. And if you get one big name person and you flip them, maybe a deputy FBI director, a senior FBI official, a senior intelligence council official, and you say, hey, we'll make a deal with the devil because you're going to testify up and down, I think they make that conspiracy case in a powerful way, and this begins to change very quickly. So keep an eye. Those are the things I'm watching for as a reporter in the next few weeks.
Wow. So just a really quick follow-up, because I can't let you get away with that without a very quick follow-up.
Darn it.
So we can look to John Brennan and James Comey, potential indictments in the grand.
Yeah, decisions. The grand jury has to make a decision. You never know what a grand jury is going to do. They say a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich. I don't believe that. I've seen grand juries take a lot of time, particularly in this hyper-partisan era we live in. But it's in Florida. You're going to have adults running the prosecution. You got adults in the grand jury. But decisions will be made. I think the prosecutors are acting as though they think a crime occurred. You wouldn't waste Congress's time to transmit those official transcripts unless you have something you're about to do. And so, yeah, I think, but the decision will be whatever the grand jury makes. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do think those two guys are on the front end of this decision making. And then there's a lot of other activity. There's one other investigation that you and I talked about it the last time. When it gets declassified, it will be the most troubling of the 4 intelligence operations that targeted Donald Trump. Crossfire Hurricane, Round River, that's the one I want to get back to, Plasmic Echo, which is classified documents, and then Arctic Frost, which we've learned a lot about thanks to Chuck Grassley and Kash Patel. Round River may be the most disturbing FBI investigation in American history, because what it did was to put Americans under investigation solely by what they were willing to say in public. If you said something about Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Ukraine, you may have had the most awesome powers of the intelligence community turned against you. That's not a predicated investigation. That's just, you said something, you're under investigation. That's not what our founding fathers ever intended. And I think when those documents, should they be declassified in the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks in that hypersonic clarity operation that I think the president's going to unleash, I think we're all going to be more trouble than we are. Jim Jordan, I just interviewed Jim Jordan a few minutes ago, and he said, the only thing that I got wrong about the scandals is it was way worse than I ever imagined. And I think Round River is going to be that, oh my gosh, I can't believe it moment. And then one last thing to watch for, because Alan Dershowitz said it on Tuesday. Jim Jordan says he believes it should happen when will happen. Claudia Tenney called for it last night. I think Congress is going to introduce a resolution to erase and expunge from the congressional record the 2019 impeachment vote.
Wow. Okay. Goodness.
Big stuff.
I never, ever regret asking that question. It's such a great download. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but it's about as close as you can possibly get. The Scoutmaster, the guy who's out in front of the party, the guy who is able to read the weather and the winds, and hot damn, he's helpful in a hurricane, is the great John Solomon. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
John.
buddy.
And
love your show,
here.
buddy. Thank you.
Yes, follow him here, and Godspeed, John. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exciting times. Goodness gracious. That was just bombshell stuff. I'm very excited about the declassification vectors of like what was that? Yeah, okay, like a lightning strike? Like the speed of light, speed of sound, declassification? Whoa. Okay, what are we getting ready for? Buckle up. I had to call John after the show. What a download. Ladies and gentlemen. You should call American Financing if you got problems with high interest credit card debt. You know that I think this is immoral. Credit card debt in the 20s and 30s is, again, not only immoral, it should be illegal. Anyway, it takes a long time to pass laws against these things, but you can sort out your high interest credit card debt today by calling American Financing. Nobody wants to be in debt. Everybody wants to be liberated and free. It's the worst type of slavery because it just steals from you every single month. Get out of that debt now. Be free. American Financing, America's home for home loans at 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. Okay. Just absolutely crazy news here. Powerful ex-Democrat, ex-Democrat, he's still a Democrat, Justin Fairfax murders wife, then kills himself at $1 million Virginia home in rage after she filed for divorce. Ugh. Dude, what a scumbag class our politicians are. What a total scumbag class. They're dirty, and we need good people to run. That's why Brandon Herrera is a regular on our show and somebody who we support running in Texas. The man who he is going to replace, the congressman that he's going to replace, Tony Gonzalez, has resigned from the House. I'm not sure if that's effective as of this very second, but it's been done at least on paper. Brandon Herrera, totally vindicated, by the way, joins us live right now. Brandon, my brother, welcome back to the program. This is exciting. You're on a safari? This is great, dude.
How's it going, brother? I'm actually on my way to a buddy's wedding. But you know what? They called me up, and when Benny calls, I answer. So as long as you're cool with it, I'm cool with it, brother.
You're not even in Congress yet, and you're one of the most vindicated men in all of Washington, D.C. When you announced your race, you were like, this guy's a dirtbag, and he should be out of Congress. And now he's out of Congress. I think we have footage right there. It is right here. We're going to put up footage right now of his congressional plaque being taken down in the halls of Congress, and it's going to be your name up there soon. But anyway, it must feel good.
That was a very nice video to see. I'm not quite that petty, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good.
Yeah.
But it really was, because I had the last 2 cycles. I had this man dragging my name through the dirt, saying that I didn't stand for family values and that I was a bad role model and I was unworthy of the seat. Meanwhile, all of the stuff that we now know was going on in the background. And it's just nice to see, the way that I explain it to people is that it's very easy to get black-pilled with politics and say, oh, nothing I can do will change anything, nothing matters, why even get involved? These people always get away with it anyway. And this is just a regular dude going up to DC, taking out one of the most well-funded, entrenched incumbent in the entire state of Texas, and seeing actual real-world consequences for heinous actions. We don't get to see that very often. It's a huge white pill. I think it's a breath of fresh air.
It is. It's an absolute white pill. Hold on. Hold up. Oh, sorry. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Brandon Herrera. There we go. And sorry about that. We just got a little drop off in the. Hey, Brandon, are you still with us? Hey, can you hear the show?
Yes, sir. I think I still got you.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Are you a little nervous, like because you're joining Congress at a time when people are beginning to see sort of the very dark underbelly of what's up there. I couldn't agree with you more, Brandon, that like we need good people. The only way to fix it is actually good people and less scum. But Swalwell and Gonzalez, boy, it is going to be an interesting time to join Congress. What say you?
100%. But I mean, it is nice to again see real repercussions. I mean, we saw I hate that it had to be in a horrid nature, but that's exactly what it was. That the Republicans and Democrats both came together and they shook hands and they said, "Look, we can get one of our bad ones. You can get rid of your bad ones. Doesn't affect the balance of power." And we got it done. But what I'd like to see is a lot more consequences for when this stuff happens. Like one of the things that I'm working on, in fact, with some people, and I can go into that in more detail in the future, is I want to put forward a bill that basically, if you are caught and you are found guilty from the House Ethics Committee of having pressured staffers, congressional staff, or subordinates into a sexual relationship, you are stripped of everything we can strip you of: committee appointments, party fundraising, retirement, anything we can strip you of, without needing a constitutional amendment. And I think it would be very telling to see who would vote against that, because I can't see any reason for that not to go through.
Yes, that's exactly right. Would you be in favor of the reveal of all of the congressional slush fund, the $20 million that have been paid out to sexual assault victims? It's done hush hush. It's done by these very secretive lawyers with, armed to the teeth with NDAs, and we all pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a mind-blowing moment when I realized not only is there a slush fund to cover up sexual assaults and sexual harassment allegations, but it's paid for by taxpayer dollars. And now I understand there's a level of innocent until proven guilty, and that you need to make sure that allegations don't become the crime. But that being said, this is stuff that we know. We didn't just purge the only two sexual deviants and sex pests out of Congress. There's a lot of people that are hiding stuff just like this, probably if not worse, that just hasn't come to light yet. And I don't think taxpayer dollars should be used as a way to guard against that.
Yeah, I think that there's just a lot of house cleaning to be done to sort of bring people into trusting Congress again. And it can be done by people like you, Anna Paulina Luna, Lauren Boebert, friends of the show, that are here not really as much to defend the party, but to defend the process and to bring back some credit to the institution. I think that's critical. And the more that people learn about Swalwell and Gonzalez, the more I think they will actually blackpill unless something's done, right? Unless they see actual reform. So
and I think they're on the right track with that as far as going after their pensions and things like that, their retirements, showing that there's actual teeth to this, not just a slap on the wrist. I mean, Swalwell's probably going to be facing criminal charges. He's well within the statute of limitations for the sexual assault allegations that are facing him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to court over this. And I really hope it happens, because we need to, again, I think people are caught up, especially with the botched Epstein file release, with this just culture of thinking that there are no ramifications for powerful people in government. I'd like to see some teeth.
Yes. What about the Democrats that clearly knew about this? It's very interesting and very telling. Eric Swalwell's on tape being like, Nancy Pelosi's my mentor. She taught me everything that I know. She taught me how to wield power. And now Nancy's like, I knew nothing. Didn't know nothing. Didn't see nothing. Same with Jeffries. Same with all of them. It just seems like a racket that protects them. You're protected, and it's good because you're blackmailed, right? So you're totally blackmailed. You're totally controllable. They knew Swalwell was doing this. They promoted him because he was controllable, and that's how the op works.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, look at Gallego. I mean, that's one of the ones where, I mean, even if you just watch the video of him defending it with the sound off, even if you didn't speak English, you know, you could go up to anybody and say, "Hey, do you think this guy's guilty or not?" He's sweating. He's sweating pretty hard, and so I think there's a pretty good chance that the Nike gold slipper or silver glass slipper, excuse me, fits them pretty closely.
I love it because you're so hard coded in to meme culture and to like the terminally online culture, and it's great. It's our language, so I love it. What is it? What is it?
100%. But yeah, no.
I just wanted to ask in conclusion.
Sorry about that.
Here,
I was just going to say the.
Please.
Oh yeah,
Brandon,
sorry.
I
think we're on a bit of a delay here, but what we can't do is we can't pretend that Republicans don't do the same thing in certain elements. We have to, like said, hold our own people accountable, and that's what I did in this primary. You know, just trying to make sure that if we're going to again maintain the idea that we are the party of conservative values, Christian values, family values, we have to be able to hold our own accountable. And I mean, this Tony Gonzalez situation probably went on for a little too long. There were a lot of people that knew he was guilty. There's a lot of people that knew he'd done these things, but were willing to. I understand that a little bit, but I think that we need to move a little bit past that if we're going to start holding people accountable.
Godspeed, Brandon. I'm sorry that we have like a little bit of a broken connection here, but we thank you for joining our program. Everybody follow Brandon Herrera. I'm not sure how they're going to how the vacation of this seat goes because he's now gone from Congress. Maybe in conclusion, Brandon, if you are still with us, will you be appointed into the seat? Is that how it's going to go, or is it just going to be run through to the general election?
So it's a weird situation. There's not going to be an appointment made. It's going to be based on Texas state law and the state constitution. There's going to be a special election. But what's weird about it is what's most likely to happen, given what I know, is based on the timelines and, again, the state constitution, these on the general election in November, which is very odd. So there will be a special election, the general election for this District 23 at the same
time. That is very strange. I think we got that. Either way, we'll be pulling for you, Brandon. Friend of the show. Chat absolutely loves him. Everybody follow his channel. First big-time YouTuber in Congress. We love to see it. Godspeed, Brandon. Good luck at the wedding, man.
Thank you, sir. Sorry for the bad connection, but I do what I can for you. But thank you for having me, brother. We'll see you next time.
See you, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, Patriot Mobile keeps us connected on the road, like Brandon is. Although our connection is strong, whatever. It was thankful that Brandon can join, and obviously it's a very newsworthy time for somebody who's taking the seat of the Swalwell of the right, I think. Obviously, what Tony Gonzalez did was gross as well. Patriot Mobile is a great Patriot company. They're based out of Texas, in fact. They love free speech. They love Christian values. They are the only Christian conservative wireless provider in the world. Premium priority access on all three major networks will make sure that you have strong connections so you can join our show live as well. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Benny for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny or 972-PATRIOT to make the switch today. What's going on with Eric Swalwell? It sure would be nice to see further progress on this taking down some big names in Democrat politics. Look at this. Bombshell records reveal Eric Swalwell and Rubin Gallego splurged to campaign cash in a Puerto Rico island wedding. Oh, no. Dancing it up. Can you get that Swalwell video from the boat, by the way? Like, that's, like, could you, like, the guys, I'm telling you, this guy is the Epstein of Congress. We need to start calling him what he is. He's the Epstein of Congress. Disgraced ex-congressman Eric Swalwell now Senator Rubin Gallego both spent campaign funds at a lavish Puerto Rican resort during the same weekend as Gallego's wedding, Federal Election Commission shows. Gallego has scurried to distance himself from Swalwell, even though they were roommates and butt buddies. His former close friend and congressman, congressional candidate, he resigned his position after a bunch of sexual assault allegations and criminal allegations because, I mean, he's under investigation now, criminal investigation in New York and in Los Angeles. The true intimacy of their relationship is beginning to unravel. The Daily Mail can reveal that Swalwell's political operation made a pair of expenditures at the Hyatt Regency Gran Reserve, Puerto Rico, totaling $1,500 on June 7th. So he's like paying for his hotel rooms, right? Or big bar tabs, whatever. An Instagram post at a wedding guest reviewed by the Daily Mail tagged the hotel as the location. The political operation of Gallego in the room, he spent $2,000 at nearby Fairmont El San Juan the same day. Gallego, the congressman at the time, was elected to the Senate in November 2024. Curiously, neither has ever posted photographs that include the others from the nuptials. Gallego's office did not immediately respond or request for comment for the Daily Mail when asked that the congressman spent campaign funds at the hotel during his island nuptials, or if Swalwell attended the event. Politico reported in 2021 that Swalwell was present at the wedding, according to Playbook. They were also able to pinpoint Swalwell campaign expenditure at exactly the hotel that the woman accused Swalwell of drugging her and then assaulting her and choking her to the point of near death. That happened this week. Should we just is this just the news cycle though? Did things just blow over this quickly? Goodness. It's going to be a total and complete nightmare. Hopefully for Rubin Gallego, he's a real dirtbag. We're very well connected to some of the political ecosystems and structures of Arizona, old Charlie connections. And this guy Rubin Gallego is a real, the world's dirtiest dirtbag. He should not be in the Senate. And these, by the way, just a couple of years, just a reminder of how much thievery has happened from Democrats. And our next guest, ladies and gentlemen, is going to talk about this. The editor and CEO of Muckraker, an awesome news site that does real investigations, investigating California voter fraud, is going to be joining us in just a moment. But the total and complete fraudulence of the Democrat Party, how they are able to steal elections. We did the whole show on how they were able to steal an election from Donald Trump in 2020. The impeachment was about stealing the election from Trump in 2020. That's what the impeachment charge was over. That's what the show's about. But if you rewind the clock back just a couple of short years, you had 2 Republican senators from Arizona. And they were like rhinos, but there was still 2 Republicans from Arizona. You had 2 Republican senators from Georgia. That's a net flip of 4 seats in the Senate. 4 extra Republican senators right now would get us to a near veto-proof, a near filibuster-proof majority. They've been thieving senators from us all across the country. These were not fair elections in Georgia. These are not real Senate seats held by actual Warnock or Ossoff. And they've been thieving elections in Arizona. They did this exact same thing. This is what Gallego's been doing. And I don't know, man. You know that we're big fans of Carrie Lake. I'm not sure if she was the right candidate for that. I think she was I think she's hell a lot better than Rubin Gallego. We love Carrie Lake, whatever. But anyway, it's scumbag. It's total and complete dirty scumbag behavior. Ladies and gentlemen, the opposite of scumbag behavior is good and solid advice. My advice to you is to invest in gold with my friends at Advantage Gold. Advantage Gold can care for you in this wild time. It has been an absolute roller coaster in every conceivable market. Why I love my modest gold investment is simply the diversification into something that is stable and sound over time. The term sound as a pound is because the pound used to be backed by sterling. The dollar used to be backed by gold. The gold, ladies and gentlemen, hasn't lost its value. The dollar has. So diversify into gold today with my friends at Advantage Gold. Text Advantage Gold. Text Benny to 85545 right now. That's BENNY to 85545. Correction there right now. You'll get a free gold investment kit. Don't wait while the rally keeps breaking records. Text Benny to 85545 right now and find out how you can profit and how you can protect. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody who has been trying to protect the sanctity of our nation and our elections is the news site Muckraker, and the editor-in-chief of Muckraker, Anthony Rubin, CEO of Muckraker, joins our show live right now to talk about his recent investigation. Here we go. Anthony, welcome to the program. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey. Your investigation into California voter fraud is what really caught our attention. Love to chat about it. We could pop it up on screen right here. James O'Keefe, our longtime friend, ally, and a brother in the information wars, said that you were doing just some of the absolute best work out there. What did you find in California?
Well, there's a lot going on, and there's stuff that we've uncovered in the past in California, even before we partnered with James O'Keefe on this ballot petition fraud story. But what we uncovered recently, in partnership with James O'Keefe and other journalists, was a massive ballot petition fraud scandal that's going on across the state of California. We investigated primarily in Los Angeles, but since then, other reports have come out, and this ballot petition fraud is going on across the state. And what's going on is, if you want to, or if some special interest group wants to bring a law to a general vote in the state of California, first you have to have a ballot petition. And so you have to get, hundreds of thousands of signatures. And if you get enough, then that measure will be brought to a vote. And obviously people vote for it. If enough people do, it'll become law in California. And what's going on is these ballot petitions are being circulated, and criminals are going around and paying homeless people, crackheads, drug addicts, and other people that are desperate to sign these things and bring laws to a general vote that otherwise would never get there. And we could get into the details of what we found. I mean, for example, we discovered a suspected international election criminal, somebody who is under investigation in Switzerland for running a similar scandal, or allegedly running a similar scandal out there in Europe, here doing allegedly the same thing.
So they're using crackheads and homeless people in order to get Democrat priorities on the ballot.
Pretty much. Exactly. That's right. Yes.
Registering to vote as well?
I personally didn't capture that, but James O'Keefe and others captured that. Yes.
Yeah, James has been on talking a lot about this. Fake names, fake ballots, fake voter IDs. And if there's no system in place in order to prevent this, well, then of course this is going to happen, right? Everyone's going to revert to the mean, which is, animalistic laws of the jungle, right?
Absolutely. Well, here's the deal. There's many states such as Florida, the state that I'm in right now, that have banned the practice of allowing petition circulators to get paid per signature. Because the way it works in California, and not just California, but other states as well, is these petition circulators are legally allowed to get paid per valid signature that they obtain. And so you can imagine right there that that's just going to lead to all sorts of fraud. I mean, it's pretty obvious on its face, right? If somebody can make $10 a signature, and they could get a signature for $3, well, they're obviously going to start paying people, right? And so there are states such as Florida that don't allow that. You are actually, it's illegal to pay ballot petition circulators to get paid per signature. And so, we included in our report, there have been at least 2 laws that have been brought to the desk of Gavin Newsom to outlaw this practice. And he has vetoed both of them because he said that it would interfere with California's democratic process. So, this is what's going on. I mean, these people do not care. I mean, they know that it leads to fraud, but they simply don't care.
Yeah, I mean, well, it benefits them. So where's the incentive to ever stop it? In fact, there's the opposite incentive to get as many homeless people, as many degenerate crackheads pissing their pants in the street, using drugs, and then you can use them to sign papers. You can go get 200,000 signatures in Skid Row alone, right?
That's right. And, this was, this was a ballot petition, but what we were told when we were down there, on numerous different occasions from these people, they said, listen, wait till it's election season. They said, you should have seen it down here when we were leading up to the presidential election. How many people were down here registering people to vote? God knows what else they were doing. I mean, possibly mail-in ballots. I'm not sure. These people, they're not all there when you're talking to them. So it's hard to get sort of a cohesive story out of them, but they're smart enough to tell you, and they're there enough to tell you that there were a lot of people paying people for like voter registrations and similar stuff leading up to the recent presidential election. And so I can only imagine leading up to the midterms, believe me, we will be on the ground I can only imagine the kind of fraud that we will see taking place there and other similar places as well.
Yeah, we've been to Skid Row multiple times. It's truly a sunken place. I can't believe that the Olympics are going to be in Los Angeles. I can't believe they're going to allow like FIFA to be in Los Angeles. What's your experience like there? I mean, it's eye-opening. I've been to the third world, Anthony, and it's actually worse than that. It's actually somehow painfully worse going to downtown Los Angeles. I think truly, without question. And we were in Detroit not too long ago. We've been to Baltimore a couple times, like some places that are like truly. LA is the worst. LA is the worst and single most depressing. Downtown LA is the single most depressing place in all of America, in my opinion.
I completely agree with you. I'm also pretty acquainted with the third world. I mean, I just got back from, one of the most dangerous places of the Caribbean, Barrio 42 in the Dominican Republic. That was just a few days ago I was there. And, the thing is, though, when you look at downtown Los Angeles, I used to live in downtown LA up until a few years ago. I had to move to Florida because it was just so bad. And I completely agree with you. I mean, it is, in a sense, it's worse than the third world because you go to the third world and sometimes it's simply these countries don't have the means to administer certain parts of their country, but we absolutely do. And we have just surrendered it to 10,000 crackheads. And it's really not even the crackheads. We've surrendered it to criminal elements. There are certain blocks there that are gang controlled. Like every few blocks are controlled by a different gang out there. You have the cartel out there as well, certain Mexican cartel factions that run the show out there. And it's incredibly dangerous. And we have just sort of given it up to these groups. And it's incredibly sad. It shows that, listen, the people that have allowed this to fester and to go on have no place running for president. I'm talking about Gavin Newsom, of course. If he is allowed to get anywhere near the Oval Office, I can only imagine where this country is going to go.
Yeah, they're going to take this and replicate the system. The system is designed for demoralization. It's designed for people like you and me to say, like, don't fight because it's you versus 10,000 crackheads and you're never going to win. And we're doing this for power. And none of it is intended for the betterment of you or your life. It's intended for our power, and that's all that matters. And that is a total and complete immorality. It's a cruelty. And they plan on nationalizing that. I am completely with you. Something else. This was going on about 2 years ago. So this was leading up to the most recent presidential election. So there was a Chinese illegal alien who I have known for the last 3 years. How I met him, that's a long story. I've talked about it elsewhere. But suffice to say, he's a contact of mine, and he feeds me information. And he crossed over the border in 2023, about 3 years ago exactly. And, in 2024, he shoots me a message, and he says, hey, I think this might interest you. And he had been mailed a voter registration form. Again, this is an illegal alien. It's not just him, his whole family. It's a family of illegals from China that came here in 2023. He had been mailed a voter registration form that was bilingual. It was in Chinese and English. And he just got mailed this thing. I mean, so the point is— In California?
In California. Yeah, he lives in Los Angeles. And so, obviously the states administer their elections. And so there's clearly no checks in place to make sure, hey, listen, are we at least mailing these things to citizens? None at all. And yep, he got this thing. And if he wanted to, he could have very easily registered to vote. And you could only imagine how many other illegals— obviously it's a sanctuary state— how many other illegals also got a voter registration form like that and registered and participated in our elections. We have no idea. And that's the scariest part.
I hate to sound like a broken record for the audience here, but we went to a toilet in an empty parking lot, and we found that there were 26 people registered at a toilet. And we had the documentation. We even checked it with the Secretary of State in California. Here it is, Anthony. And what's amazing is that the Secretary of State in California attacked us in the press because this is legal in California. They wrote fact checks saying I was wrong. They community noted me with a fact check here saying, not that my information was wrong, but that it's legal to register people to empty parking lots, street signs, Burger King trash cans in California. And so in what universe can anybody ever trust the vote out of that state? It is impossible to ever trust a number out of California for the election.
Oh, it absolutely is. Listen, there needs to be a full audit of the voter rolls in that state. Until then, I will not believe that what's coming out of California is free and fair. It's impossible to know at this point, truly, based on all the fraud that we've seen and the fraud yet to be uncovered as it pertains to election integrity. That state is a total cesspool. And how many votes do they have? I forget exactly.
53. 53.
Okay, you can only imagine, man. I mean,
the Electoral College.
Yeah. Yes, in the Electoral College.
Largest in the country.
Largest in the country. That's right. So, look, all I can say is we're going to continue hammering on this. You know, we're headed back out there soon, not necessarily for election integrity. I got a different lead from a landlord out there that owns like thousands of units who was telling me about a very particular type of fraud, which I'm not going to get into right now. We'll get on the ground and start investigating it, but it's just another lead. California is clearly accessible. We're going to get on the ground. And believe me, leading up to the midterms, we're going to be digging down very deeply on election-specific fraud and shining a light on this and doing what we can to try to affect some change, because something's got to change out there. 54
votes. Crazy. 54 Electoral College votes. My correction. It is unbelievable the amount of fraud that takes place. Could you imagine an election where California had the actual correct number and was reduced? There it is. The actual numbers. So Texas has 40, Florida has 30. In the new census, it's gonna change, and we need to actually start hammering this issue now so that we get a correct census number. That is like critical. We need to start exposing this now, because they want to count illegals, they want to count homeless people, Anthony, in order to bump this number up. That's what we found when we were out there.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, California, just to sort of like drill down on it, because, you know, not everybody lives there. A lot of people haven't even spent that much time out there. You know, I lived there for about 4 years ago, and I left about 2 years ago. And I just want people to understand how mismanaged the state is. Well, first of all, you pay among the highest income tax in any state of the union. I think it's Hawaii, New York, and California, top three, right? And I will tell you this. So I left 2.5 years ago, and this is my first time back, was doing this story with James O'Keefe last month. So I was gone for about 2.5 years, and I will tell you, the amount of economic decline that I saw just being gone for 2.5 years, it was remarkable. It was very visual, and it was impossible to ignore. There were dozens of stores that I used to visit, Nordstrom down on Santa Monica Boulevard, numerous 7-Elevens, multiple restaurants that were not only gone, but there was just a giant for lease sign on the area that they used to, you know, the building that they used to occupy, and there's nobody there. Nobody's coming to fill that spot. And so this just shows there's many people that are leaving. They're trying to impose a billionaire's tax now. People are preemptively getting out because they don't know if that's going to pass or not. And they're talking about making the billionaire's tax retroactive even. And so it is not only on the decline, it is spiraling down and at a rapid rate of acceleration. And again, the people that have done this to California, not only can they be nowhere near the Oval Office, but they themselves need to be investigated. And, you know, honestly, I believe thrown in prison for high treason. But at a minimum, we need to get to the bottom of how this has been allowed to take place for many years in California.
Yes. Well, good luck on your future investigations in California. It certainly is the target area that everything else is in total collapse. Without the crown jewel of California, it is the center of Democrat power. It's why all the people who want to run for president are from California, all the donor classes in California, at least for now. And so it is critical to focus our attention there. Thank you, Anthony Rubin and Muckraker, for doing that. Here's Anthony's X profile, and then you can see the muckraker.com profile right here. This is Anthony's site. Muckraker also has 140,000 subscribers here on X. Thank you very much, Anthony, for your work.
Thank you, sir.
You know, a news story came out yesterday that the military has a fully prepared plan to launch an invasion of Cuba. You know, is this the side chick? So like Iran is the main B, and Cuba's the side chick. I don't know, but Trump's working them both. What will happen? The markets say that there is a close to 50% chance there is going to be a U.S. military action in Cuba this year. I don't know if we have this article in the script or not, but it came out yesterday that Donald Trump has full military operation ramped up and ready to go. He said many times Cuba's next. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Alex, I think it was Disclosed TV is where I saw it. But there's like the Pentagon has drawn a full military conquest plan of Cuba. Oh man, I'm going to get called a neocon for this, but I'm just going to tell you my bias, and you can attack me for it. I'm totally open to this, but I really like what happened in Venezuela. What happened in Venezuela? Let me show you the results of what happened in Venezuela. Sorry, Alex, I'm asking for too much stuff. Oh, there it is. Okay, there's the article. Pentagon ramps up planning for a Cuba military operation at Trump's ready. Oof. Hot damn! And then look at the oil chart that we posted. Jason, can you send that from this morning? Jason is such a total G. You'll hear that name on the show. He's helps manage and write some of the. No, close though. This one. Look at America. Look at what's happening. Okay. Let me just. I'm done. We're done. I'm sorry. We're not going to rant on another monologue. But look at what Venezuela. Look at what the conquest of Venezuela has done for American oil production. America now produces more oil than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. This is true power. Oil equals energy. Energy equals compute. Compute equals military and cultural dominance. And that, of course, is tied to the dollar. The dollar is energy. The dollar isn't gold anymore. The dollar is energy. Of course, energy can be turned into gold. But this is what is required for your civilization to not only advance, but to dominate. And that's what I want for America. And this is incredible. I mean, look at this. Saudi Arabia, you see Iran all the way down there, and you can see why they crushed Iran's ability to export oil. So this chart has probably changed significantly. Oil produces more natural gas as well as Russia, Iran, and China combined. This is natural gas production. And that's, of course, critical when it comes to synthesizing chips, manufacturing. Doing the natural gas is required in doing high-level plastics and every little thing that you need when it comes to the technological devices that run your life. So I am in favor of Don Rowe doctrine, control your hemisphere. Venezuela makes a ton of sense. Cuba makes a ton of sense, in my opinion. The tanker ships heading into the Gulf of America, wild. They have to pass by Cuba. You better have a friend in Cuba. You could have your own choke point there if Cuba really wanted to F around and find out. But they could really cause some damage or do numbers if they went after the tanker ships that are all flooding into the Gulf of America. They'd never dare. I don't think they even have the capacity to. The point is that makes a lot more sense than Iran to me. And you know that our take on Iran has been pragmatic. Not light ourselves on fire. Don't burn your MAGA hats. But I don't like the distraction. It's too far away. And the distraction is like burning up political capital that should be spent on lowering prices for America. The economic numbers are underwater for our side, and they need to be flipped. And you can flip them quick. How do you flip them? Cheap gas. Plow gas directly back down to $2 a gallon, which is where it was. Home prices. You must fix affordable housing in this country. How do you do that? Well, first thing is you deport 20 million criminal aliens. Free up 20 million houses, right? Especially the starter homes, the homes that they occupy. The starter homes get people started with the American dream. Free up those houses, more supply. That will reduce the prices. And then you got to get grocery prices down. How do you fix that? Well, 40% of the groceries are free to the parasitic class, many of them criminal aliens. Many of them people who need to have their benefits cut, to be quite honest. People who are engaging in welfare and SNAP fraud. And that was ubiquitous on the old block. I used to live in the ghetto in Washington, D.C. Everybody would trade their SNAP cards for cash. Ubiquitous is like literally probably the largest scale fraud in the country is SNAP fraud. And so crack down on that. Make it so that we're not subsidizing with our, so every time you buy a steak for $22 a pound, you're subsidizing some jackrabbit on on Snap who's buying the same steak for free off the government that you're paying for. Anyway, that's how you reduce so that you get rid of fraud, I think, and you get rid of dependency on those systems. Prices lower. Anyway, nobody's asking me. Whatever. We have a loud enough voice. We've gotten some wins, and people do end up listening if you shout long enough and hard enough. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep on going. And I'll give you the energy to do so with our verse of the day. The verse of the day from Luke 8. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Make sure that you are living an upstanding life. Make sure that you are living your values. Make sure that you yourself are in control, and that most importantly, that if you profess to be a Christian, that you live out as a Christian. None of us can be perfect. I posted about this last night. But you've got to try. You've got to be actively doing it. The scriptures are constantly saying, judge people by their fruits. Are you building? Are you creating? Are you giving your best effort? Where is your heart? Where are your intentions? Are you doing what we do on the show every single day, you and me, which is try to create a better, more peaceful, more clean America, more prosperous and safe and secure America for our children? Well, that's a holy mission. That is a holy charge. Go at that. It won't be perfect. Nothing in life is perfect, especially nothing in politics is perfect. But go at that and give it your best shot. And pray that God takes the rest, right? Manages the rest. And he will. And that's the best part about being a Christian. March with us. On to victory. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Through the night, the Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.